Okie dokie.
Thank you.
Thank you, Beth. So we'll call the special meeting to order at 6:41 PM. We have a very short agenda. I would entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
Rutland County will make a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
And a second, please.
Washington County will second that.
Thank you, Jeff. All those in favor, say aye.
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 Thank you. I don't have that agenda right in front of me. Do you remember who was up first, Cindy? You're muted.
Coles Pond.
Close pond.
Okay. So as you guys know, I sent out the information last week. Both clubs, Coles Pond and Gully Jumpers, were denied their request for track repair. And through the policy, they've opted to have some time in front of the board to plead their case, and we will hop right in with Coles Pond.
Okay. Dave, you want me to go first, or do you want to go first?
George.
Okay. So just to give all you guys and gals the background of Coles Pond Slitters, we have only had our groomer for 3 years. This whole grooming thing is a little bit new to us. We're figuring it out. I think we've done a pretty decent job thus far. Our groomer is a print-off husky. Has about 1,800 hours on it now. I think there was around 1,400 or 1,500 hours on it when we bought it. But this past season, due to some of the low snow conditions, some of the rain events after snow, and then freezing weather, our volunteer groomer operators, there was a few times where they just couldn't go. They had to back down some pretty steep slopes, and one of them got stuck once, had to disconnect the drag. It was kind of dicey. Middle of the night. I'm sure, all of you who have been longtime volunteers at one time or another have probably experienced that. It's just not a lot of fun. But that being said, at the end of the season, our 3 primary groomer operators, 2 of them are a father and son business, and the other is a sole proprietor business. When the season ended, they parked the groomer in our groomer shed and kind of went about their business, and unfortunately didn't really think much about it. Dave and I attended the spring construction meeting where you guys put out the deadlines, and neither him nor I really were aware at that point that there was any problem with the tracks on our groomer. So our print-off husky groomer has steel cleats with steel ice cocks or studs, unlike the Tuckers. I don't know what the piston bullies have. And in our first 2 seasons, we had a couple of broken cleats that we replaced, and the cleats didn't really appear to be worn down excessively. And I'm talking just from my experience. Those first couple of seasons I groomed, and Dave rode along quite a bit with all of us. So it was, I think we had our first meeting of the fall in August, because we were starting to plan our 50th anniversary. And one of our groomer operators, Tyler, was like, guys, we should think about, doing something to our track. And it was the day of the the day of the VAST annual meeting, after we had talked to Matt, that we said, hey, we might have a problem with our groomer and the tracks. We might be looking at a significant repair bill. Tyler and Dave and I stopped at Tyler's house where the groomer is, and we took a look, and Tyler showed us how worn the cleats were, worn to the point where there's really not enough material on the cleats to even bolt on new studs. And me and Dave were both kind of jaw dropped by it. And so at that point, you know, Dave and Tyler had talked to Matt that day, and Matt said, well, you know, if it's bad, put in a grant request and we'll see what we can do. So we did, and here we are. I think having the little bit of grooming I've done with that machine, we've got 3 or 4 fairly treacherous stretches on our trail system. One is the trail from WN82 up to the rail trail out of Cabot. If any of you have ever been on that trail, it doesn't get a lot of snow. Even in a good year, you can get some pretty treacherous icy spots. Certainly heading up towards the lookout by Coles Pond and going down the backside towards Danville, that's another pretty treacherous spot. You know, without this repair, I wouldn't, and I'm probably the most inexperienced operator out of all our guys, but without some decent cleats on that machine and some new picks, I think we are risking, you know, really damaging that machine. So that's kind of where we stand. We do have, I know that you asked Jeff or Cindy in the emails I saw about what we have for cash on hand. So we went to Prinoff. They told us that a complete re-cleating of the tracks, both tracks, 66 cleats on either side, for a total of 132, and then 48 ice studs, 24 on either side. They gave us a price with a pretty hefty discount of 20% at around $8,500. $500 of that is tax, which they said they'll take off. They just don't have a current tax exempt sheet for us. We got another quote from Doug Wilson at Mountain Grooming. That was around 11,000. So Prinoff came in, you know, several thousand less. When we bought our groomer, we started a separate account for grooming, a separate grooming account, just to keep those funds set aside from the normal operating account of the club. And currently we have about $3,000 in that grooming account. In our normal, in our regular fund for the club, we've got somewhere right around $16,000. We're a little hesitant to spend that $8,000 to dip into our regular account. We still have 2 more payments on our groomer. We don't want to find ourselves in a situation where we have a low snow year and we can either barely make our groomer payment or we don't make our groomer payment at all. Or if, God forbid, we have some other major repair pop up on the groomer to really put ourselves in a pinch. So, you know, we could certainly take that $3,000 in the groomer account and put it towards this $8,000 bill we're looking at if VAST could, see the way to help us with the other $5,000. I think that pretty much summarizes it, doesn't it, Dave?
Very well, George.
Okay.
So,
And the last thing I'll say is, you know, we'll just throw ourselves at the mercy of the court over missing the submission for the equipment grants. I know that you guys get a lot of grant requests and you have to, you know, allocate money out fairly. I wish we had this situation brought to the directors in the club at that point, but we simply didn't for whatever reason.
so just to be clear, I can answer a couple of questions that might be asked just up front. The reason that they are in front of you today, as well as the other club, is only because they missed the deadline. It wasn't Matt will, I mean, he's in a group setting right now, but I can tell you that there was all the groomer grants, all the equipment grants were divvied up and given out. And there was one club that turned their grant down, decided they weren't going to do it this year, which opened up funding. So there is enough funding, but it was because the policy is set with the deadline was why we had to refuse the grant and why they're in front of you tonight.
Okay, got it. Thanks, Cindy.
So is there enough funding, Cindy, you said for both clubs? If we decided to do both clubs, is enough for both of them?
Matt, yes?
Yes.
Yes.
Thanks.
Does that leave us any funding at all if there's an emergency situation with another club in the middle of the season?
Yes. This is not coming out of emergency funds. This is just coming out of the normal grant and aid.
Okay. So he said he had 2 more payments or 2 more years of payments on the groomer club.
Two more years of payments.
Okay.
We did, and our treasurer, Carolyn Greaves, is not on with us. I want to say
It's okay.
our payment is, I don't know, somewhere around $11,500 per year. We did pay an extra $5,000 a couple of years ago. So in reality, we've got like 1.5 more groomer payments to go. So somewhere, I guess, to the tune of 16 or 17,000.
So 1.5 more years. That's what I was trying to clarify, because you had said you had 2
Yeah.
groomer payments, not 2 years. So it was just for clarification purposes. Thank you.
Yeah.
Most of them,
Sure.
I think, Kurt, are 1 payment a year. I think
Okay.
that's,
And we're 1 payment per year.
Okay, I didn't know that. Thank you, Jeff.
I know that's the way ours was set up when we did our Roxor, so.
Okay.
I have a question for George. Jeff Alpin, Washington County. I'm wondering, would you guys be able to come up with 50% cash? It sounds to me like you would if you were able to, you know, move a little bit more of your money over to the grooming account. You'd have no trouble coming up with the 50% mark of this project?
We could. I hesitate as a director to suggest that to our club members. 2 reasons. One, not to deplete that regular account in case of an emergency of any kind. 2, you know, when we purchased the groomer, the vote for purchasing the groomer 3 years ago was the only vote I've been involved in as a director in our club where it was not a unanimous decision. It was a 3-2 decision to purchase the groomer and get into the grooming game. And I think it might cause a little bit of, you know, we told you so in our club of some of our members who were not on board with grooming. And so if we've got to dip into the general fund, I'd rather not have us go down that road. Our club has been increasing in members over the last several years, and we'd really like to keep that trend going. if you can understand that.
I can, and I guess my second question to you, and that'd be it for me, I think, is, what have you implemented as a club to make possibly a grooming director or someone to be more in charge of this, so that we're not seeing you again in October for a June 1st deadline for repairs? What have you implemented as far as the club goes, so we're not doing this again?
Quite honestly, we haven't yet, but I mean, this experience, we're gonna learn from the experience, and we won't let this happen again. You know, in future years, at the end of the season, we'll make it a point to, you know, do a thorough end of season inspection and not simply park the groomer and go about our business thinking everything's hunky-dory. We've got, and this is the first year too, that we have an actual indoor storage location for our groomer. One of our operators freed up some space in his own equipment shed where he parks his construction equipment so that we can have an indoor space. And having that is going to allow us to, you know, do not only the end of season inspection, but some in-season inspections where we pull it in and let it thaw and you know, be a little more proactive on the maintenance. So yeah, I guess the bottom line is we feel like we've learned the lesson, and we're not going to let it happen again.
Carmen?
This is Dave Brown. Also, we have 16,000 in the regular fund, but that money didn't come from grooming, much of it from grooming. It was from another income. As you know, the income was a cook shack. We no longer have that. So the regular budget's going down fast.
Understood.
A question, in your trails up
Carmen's,
there?
hang on, Kurt.
Yes, go ahead.
Carmen's got her hand up.
I'm sorry.
I just have a question, because you said that you got a quote for 5,500, but then you just mentioned 8,000. So I guess I'm a little confused.
Well, on the printout, it says 84.3.
Well, the print-off quote was, and I'm sorry, I don't have the paperwork here in front of me, but I think the print-off quote was that I included in the equipment grant was approximately 8,500 and change. That's the one we included in the grant request. We got another quote from Mountain Grooming that was right around the 11,000 mark. And so you didn't see that in the equipment grant request. It was the print-off one. So I don't think I said 5,500. I think I said 8,500, but that's the number is 8,000.
Okay.
84, 83 is what we have.
Okay.
There you go. Yeah. There you go. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, Kurt, thank you.
I guess my question was, how many bridges do you guys have? I mean, what's the structure of your trails, bridges and culverts? I mean, things that would be an emergency that you may have to dive into that 16,000 for. You know,
we have a little more than 50 miles of trail. We did a pretty good job at the end of this season assessing our trails. Last year we did several bridges. This year we only redecked one bridge. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, Dave. I think there's only one bridge out there. We thought we could get by with it this year, this coming season. We're certainly going to have to do it next year, Dave. That's the one on the Ledges Trail by the Beaver Dam. But I think all of our other bridges are in pretty darn good shape. I don't really see us, you know, having any kind of a culvert bridge in season emergency that we'd have to come back to you guys for.
Okay. So, well, thank you for answering that. And just a double check and clarify. You had 16K in your main account, and what did you have in your grooming fund? 4,500?
No, approximately 3,000 in the
3,000.
grooming account.
Okay, thank you very much, George.
Sure.
Mike Burns?
Yeah, I got a quick question for, I guess, really for Matt. If it hadn't been late and everything, would this grant have been approved?
Go ahead. Yes. Say yes. Yes. Louder so they can hear you. Yes,
We
he
have-
said.
They have the funding, everything in there, so the only issue is it was late.
Correct.
Okay. Same with the other one?
Same with the other one.
Okay, thanks.
It's just a timing issue more than anything.
Jeff, Mike Garber, a couple questions.
Sure. Go ahead, Mike.
Mike Garber, Wyndham County. So what's your average membership for the club in question?
Oh, Dave, help me with this one. Maybe 250 to 275 per year.
Yes, that's about the average.
Okay, and next question for Matt. Matt, what was the percentage that we gave as far as the equipment grants to the clubs that applied this year? So if a club applied for $10,000 worth of grants, what percentage were the clubs getting? 80%, 70%?
What the circumstances were, but I think most got 100%. I believe. I think most of them did 100% of what they're eligible for. I'd have to look specifically at each one, but
I believe the policy for capital repairs is 50%. Is that not correct?
yeah, that's the maximum they could get for capital repairs is 50%.
So on a $8,000 grant, their maximum would be 4,000.
Thank you.
Yeah, 42, 41, 50.
Any other questions for George or Dave? Ivor?
Could this be approved into next year's grant cycle? Could they pay for it this year and then be approved now for next year's funding cycle?
You're already in next year's, I mean, in the sense that the money's in a separate, I understand what you're saying. I don't think you need to do that because there was a club that decided to not take their grant this year, but they're going to take it next year. So there's enough money to fund these two because the other one gave up. So I don't know that you need to take that step.
So if the policy states 50% is the maximum, in this case, 4,000 is the most we would give them, even in a regular grant, if it was approved, is that correct?
Yes,
Yep.
What'd you say it was, Matt? 42 something?
42, 41, 50.
Any other questions for Dave or George? I'd like to vote on these separately. So if somebody would like to make a motion.
Washington County.
Westchester County will make a motion to commit 42, 41, whatever the change was, to the Coles Ponce letters for their capital repair for their tracks on their groomer.
Washington will second that.
Who made the motion?
Windsor County made the motion, Washington seconded.
Thank you.
All those in favor of the motion, say aye.
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 Bye.
Anyone opposed?
Nay.
It'll be Orange County. Anyone else opposed?
Chittenden.
Chittenden? Okay, thank you, Pat.
Jeff, quick question.
Go ahead,
2,
Carmen.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So we have 12, people that can vote, correct? Roger had to leave because he had a fire call. So that leaves us with 10 or 11, sorry.
You only
it's-
need 8.
Okay.
Motion's approved.
Motion's approved, yes. Yeah, I don't have my list up. 3, 4, yeah. Yeah,
have
we
enough.
Yeah.
definitely got enough. Yep. Okay.
Okay, this is George Gatone. We heard that it was approved.
Yes.
Is there anything else you need from us? If not, we'll just thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for your time and consideration, and we'll call Printoff in the morning and get the parts headed our way.
Would not be bad if you followed up with something that kind of let us know that you're not going to let this happen again.
I got it. Got it.
Thanks,
Definitely
George.
definitely a learning experience.
It is. It surely is. And since we bought our groomer a few years ago, trust me, this is not the only learning experience. You guys have way more experience at this than we do. So we're just trying to get through it one season at a time. So we appreciate your consideration.
George,
Matt,
them
is
an
there
invite.
anything else that you need from those guys?
I don't believe so. I think we're pretty well set.
Okay.
But if I do, I will reach out to them tomorrow.
Okay, perfect.
excuse
All
me,
right.
could I say something quick?
Sure, absolutely.
This is Dave Brown. We do have the 50th anniversary of our club, October 8th, at the Hardwick Legion. And everyone there, all of you are invited. Hors d'oeuvres start at 6. If anybody could make it to Hardwick, we'd really enjoy it.
So
What's the
again,
date on that again?
that's August 8th. It's this coming Saturday. And unfortunately, Jeff and Mark, you guys are going to be at the Grass Drags. I'm going to be in Connecticut at a family reunion, but it's at the Hardwick Foreign Legion or American Legion.
Yep.
And it's complimentary and it's their 50th anniversary. I'm just repeating this because you were a little hard to hear. And hors d'oeuvres start at what time? 6 o'clock.
Or 6 p.m. hors d'oeuvres and a social hour with a spaghetti dinner at 7 o'clock. Like you said, Cindy, it's complimentary. We'd love to have some representation, any of the vast employees or directors, the county folks. Really, we want to celebrate 50 years. I think we're one of the earliest clubs that were chartered in Vass. So we're hoping for a great turnout, and we'd love to see some of you.
What was the location again? I'm sorry.
American Legion, Post 7 in Hardwick.
Okay, American Legion. Okay.
And please go. Like I said, I'm out of town. Mandy's out of town. Jeff's out of town. Mark's out of town. Patty's out of town. We're all going either to the Grass Drags or, well, I'm going to a family reunion, but they're all working the trade show at the Grass Drags.
She'd rather be at the Grass Drags than the family reunion.
Yeah, I would. Don't tell my mom.
I'm so
Thank-
telling
thank-
your mother, Cindy.
Well, you could bring your sled with you and rip up your mom's lawn.
Yeah.
Thanks,
She lives in
Dave,
a
for
condo.
bringing that up. I'm glad you mentioned that, Dave. I had forgotten to bring that up, but yeah, that's great.
We understand and that a lot of you can't be there, but you are invited, and thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good luck,
Thank you,
guys.
guys. Appreciate your
Okay,
efforts.
Signing off. Thank you.
He's not there. Has anything to offer us before they go?
Right.
Words or something?
All right.
So East Montpelier, you're gonna have to come up with hors d'oeuvres or something.
We gotta beat that, huh?
Kegger.
Send her something.
You hear Kegger? That might work. Well, you've seen the process, so you guys are up. Thanks
Okay.
for coming on.
No, thank you guys for your time. So it's myself, Derek Price, Dave Gilmet, and Jeff Parker is here. You can't see him in the camera. We're in a very similar situation to Coles Pond. We had one of the original 1998 piston bully that was part of the lease program from way back. And unfortunately, we kept that machine for far too long. And the last 2 or 3 years we had it, we really started to deplete our savings by running the machine. We had some pretty major issues with it that cost us a lot of money. 3 years ago, we had made the decision to try to upgrade, and we ended up, with the help of Matt, getting another piston bully. It's a 2012 from Ludlow. It's really been a pretty good machine. We have it serviced every year by Casbor. Unfortunately, they didn't get here as early as we would have liked this year. And when they did arrive, which was
in July, I think.
July or August even.
Usually they're, early in the spring, so, and we expect $2,500 service. He got there this year and found 7 out of 8 of the torsion bars were broken. So that $2,500 service ended up more like $5,500. So.
Right. And the unfortunate part, I mean, aside from the financial piece, so I'll go back to the financial piece just for a second. When we started grooming with this machine, after we had the loan and sold our old piston bully, we had about $35,500 total between our money market and our checking account. We have a similar payment to what Coles Pond was. It's just over $11,000 that we pay once a year, and with our fuel costs and insurance and everything else, it's about $13,000 or $14,000 a year that we really need to make to break even. We had done the math and knew that we could lose about $6,000 a year and still be okay until we get to the end of our 6 years. At the end of 6 years, when we don't have a payment, we can start to rebuild our savings some. So like I said, we started with about 35,000. We're 3 years in, we're halfway through, and we are at 20,000 now. So we've done a decent job of only losing that amount, not too much. But this would put us behind the 8 ball a little bit. If we just spent the $5,500 for the torsion bars and the normal service, I guess we should state what we were actually looking for. So when Casbor came and they laid out the tracks, they found a few spots on each of the tracks where the rubber is starting to come apart. It's really actually tough to see. The pictures that I took and sent to Matt for the grant application were with the tracks back on, and it's tough to really see it. But when he had the tracks off the machine, it was pretty obvious that we have some issues. They didn't recommend that we run the tracks again through another winter, which is why we're in the position that we're in. Obviously, if one of the belts break, we're in a tough situation with the machine out on the trail. We have put some ice cleats on it. We actually we noticed that some of the grouser bars were starting to wear down, so we had all of those hard welded 2 years ago. So that's all in pretty good shape. But unfortunately, the rubber belts in the tracks are in tough shape. We wish we had noticed it sooner, just like Coles Pond. But like I said, without taking the tracks off the machine, it was pretty hard to see those issue areas, especially on the inside belts on the track. I went up and looked at it when they got the tracks off, and we, at that point decided that it was something that we needed to address, and we started talking with Matt. Unfortunately, it was past the deadline for this. So the quote for the 4 tracks with shipping to get down here was $4,740.96. So we were hoping to get half of that from Vast, and we'd pay the other half and do the work to replace the tracks. We have nothing that's actually torn all the way through. I mean, there's a chance we could try to chance it. We'd hate to I mean, the three of us groom as well as one or two others, and nobody really wants to be stranded out on the trail with snapped rubber tracks and figure out how to get the machine off.
You're saying that the Windsor County here, Jacob, you're saying that the total amount is 4,700, so you're looking for roughly 2,400?
2370 would be half, yeah.
Okay,
Yep.
thanks.
If we were able to get this money from BASC, we feel comfortable that with the money that we still have, that we can make it through the next couple of years with a little bit in reserve. We don't want to bankrupt the club before we have this groomer paid off. Once the groomer's paid off, if we can run it for a couple of years and start to build our bank account back up, we'll feel comfortable. And you know, one of the things that we've all talked about with the club is finding that happy medium. Obviously, we kept our last machine too long. So we want to keep this one through the payment to get it paid off, run it for a few years and try to build our bank account back up some, and then look at upgrading before this one starts costing us as much money as the last one did.
I'm sorry, Jeff, did you call my name?
Yes. Yep. Sorry, I was a little quick.
Sorry. I just have a couple kind of quick questions. So was this not noticed kind of in the spring when you were kind of getting ready to garage the groomer?
No, we did not notice that. And like Derek said, it's not real obvious with the tracks on because of the way they curve on the inside. And if you happen to stop in the right place, it's not like every cleat is gone. It just, some of them are. And so it wasn't real obvious. And I missed it, you know, and I'm usually ahead of the maintenance and we didn't see it until Dennis from Castlebar came and when he dropped the tracks, then you could see it when it laid out flat. It was a lot more obvious.
Okay, that was my first question. And my second question is, well, obviously you said you do have some sort of maintenance schedule, but is the unit kept under cover at all, or?
It is. We have we don't have the luxury of having it inside in a heated area, but we have a hoop barn that we are able to park it in. During the winter, we don't put it in there. It's out where we have access to power to plug it in if it's too cold. But in the off season, we can cover it.
Okay, thank you.
And I don't know how this compares to others that you've seen or even Coles Pond, but I just looked at our grooming logs and we are about 2,318 hours on the machine. I'm not sure what the life of the tracks, the expected life of the tracks are. This is my first time dealing with the tracks on one of these.
And we do have a maintenance log that we fill out every time a groomer goes out, a check sheet to check the tracks for looseness and fluid levels and oil level. And so it's not like we just jump in it and drive off. So we're pretty cautious.
Any other questions? I don't see
Jeff?
any hands up.
Jeff?
Yep, go ahead, Pat.
I would agree with these guys that running it through the winter is probably not a good idea.
Absolutely.
So even if we denied them now, they're going to get out there in the middle of the winter, break it, and then we're still going to have to give them an emergency funding. Having said that, I still have to vote no based on my county direction, but I think fixing it in the summer or in the fall is a whole lot better than trying to do it with 20 below zero and 10 inches of snow.
Yeah.
Sure.
We got
And
some
trail
long-
side.
I got a pretty long ride from East Montpelier from where we parked the groomer all the way to Worcester Store and back. So with some pretty rugged territory over there. I don't want to end up sitting there on the trail.
No, that wouldn't be very good.
No.
With all that being said, Rutland County, oh, go ahead, Jeff.
Hey, Jeff. You're muted, Jeff. Wake the owl up, somebody.
Yeah, how about now? Can you hear me now?
Here you know.
Washington County. I guess my same question went out to Coles Pond Club is what are we gonna do here to, you know, this June 1st deadline is a hard deadline and, when do you start calling? I guess you guys rely on Bully to do most of your maintenance. So a lot of the other clubs do at least take their tracks off and do an examination and do their maintenance at the end of the year. And then they're just pretty much ready to get going the next in the winter, fall and winter. What are we doing as a club here to make it so that we have a better idea moving forward on this?
Yeah, like Dave said, I mean, we've never been in this position before that I've been involved in this club. Not this particular position. I feel like, you know, in the 20 something years I've been volunteering here, we've done a pretty good job of maintaining the groomers and avoiding this situation. This happens to be one where, you know, clearly it would have been better if we had taken the tracks off in the spring. We call it a spring service because we schedule the service with Casbor in the spring for this reason, so that if they come down, they go through the whole machine, and if there's anything serious that they notice, we still have time to apply for a grant. In this case, they weren't able to get here in the spring. Do I wish we took the tracks off ourselves? Yeah, I do. But we all have regular jobs, and you know, after volunteering our time to groom all winter, it's time to get back and do the things that we really need to be doing.
We just don't allow the jet skis and boats to come out until we get the tracks maintained. And then-
Yeah, I guess that's true. Yeah.
I understand, guys. You know, you are at the, you know, you're kind of at the purview of Bully, if that's who's doing most of your maintenance, and hopefully they can, you know, I don't know when you start talking to them in the late season to start lining up that service, but anyways.
We actually called before we're done grooming to try to get them down here. And to be honest with you, we've tried, what was the guy? We tried a guy out of Newport the year before last. He missed some things. I mean, obviously we didn't break 7 of the 8 torsion bars last year. He went through and replaced some wheel bearings. So he was in there working on the machine. He had the tracks laid out. He never mentioned anything to us about either. So we switched back to Casbor just because they, you know, they're a little bit more expensive, but they seem to be more thorough.
Okay, thank you. I am going to abstain from voting on this because that's my county.
Jeff, Mike Burns has his hand up.
Mike.
You kind of answered my question just then, but you did contact your service agent that you use. You did contact him appropriately and timely.
Yes, we always do. In fact, Dennis is the fella, I can't remember his last name, from Castlebar, and he had called quite early in the spring, so I was surprised when they didn't show sooner. And because usually he comes in, geez, I think, you know, end of May or first part of June. So it's pretty early, and this year it was very late.
Was there anybody monitoring him getting there or something, or did you just wait till he showed up?
They schedule with us when they're going to come. So we call and try to and tell them that we you know, we want them to come down and service the machine, and then usually a day or two before they come, they'll let us know so that we can be available if they have questions or need to come look at something like what happened this time.
But nobody at the club contacted them until if they were running later than normal.
Did you have any communication with them before they showed up?
I actually had called and asked because, you know, I attended the seminar so that if we needed something that we would be able to put in for a grant. And I had contacted Dennis, and then he called me back and said, they were gonna schedule it and they were trying to arrange it so that, because he had to come down this way to do Stowe and a couple machines at Stowe, so he'd coordinate them together, and then that way he could split the mileage charge. And, but I didn't realize it was gonna be, weeks before he got here.
Right.
So more, you can bet I will next year.
Thanks.
Any other questions? I think we had somebody ready to make a motion at one point in time.
Rutland County would make a motion to approve the 2370, right? $2,400 to help these guys get back on the snow.
Well, is your motion for 23,750, which would be half, or 24?
Well, it was 23,750.
2370,
What was it, Matt? 2374?
70, 48.
2370, 48.
Yep. Okay, so Rutland County would make a motion to approve $2,370.48 to the Montpelier Gully Jumpers to get their groomer up and running for the season, so we don't have to worry about them being stuck out in the snow somewhere.
And do I hear a second?
Windsor County will second the motion.
Thank you, Doug. All those in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed, say no.
No.
Thank you. And we have one abstention in Washington County. Motion is approved.
All right, Jeff, I'm gonna leave you from the office here because we have our Washington County meeting getting ready to fire up.
Okay, sounds good. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. So I guess we're all set
I
with,
think maybe we should make note at the next capital meeting or whatever that, we had two clubs this time that came in late and it was because of internal club issues. So, I mean, it's negotiable whether we should approve these or not, but I think for better or best we did, but, I'll make note that they're expected to do this on time.
There'll be minutes from this meeting with the motions with like notes in there. So it will, Mike, and it'll come to you to approve at the October board, the official, regular board meeting.
Right. Okay.
I would like to add, I think it's a good learning experience for you guys in Montpelier. It's tough to get a good inspection with everything together. But at least you know now what to look for. It's one more thing to look for.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
You're
That's
100% right about that.
So good luck with it, guys.
Thank you.
And
Thank you all.
nobody wants to kick volunteers in the pan. I mean, that's the biggest thing. That's not what these guys are in the business to do. It's just the policy is the policy and the deadline is the deadline. So
No,
thanks
we
for-
completely understand. that.
We understand that.
No, I've been on my knees in a swamp helping the Londonderry Club getting their track that they kicked off back on because they were so stretched out. So it's not
Yep.
fun.
Not fun.
It's always an adventure.
Yep. Well, we appreciate everybody's time and we appreciate you all approving this. It really helps the club and puts us in a better situation to make it through the next couple of years with what we have and get this machine paid off so we can build up our bank account again.
Sounds like a good
Sounds-
plan.
Thanks for all you
Sounds
do.
good.
Thank
Snow,
you.
guys.
Should we have
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Minutes somewhere that we really kind of only approved these because we had the one club backing up, we had the funds available.
I didn't get any of that.
Yeah,
Should we have in the minutes because of this being a little bit of an unusual situation where we had the club back out, so we had the funding available? If it wouldn't have been for that, it would not have been approved, so.
Yeah.
I think that should be clearly identified in the minutes somewhere.
Yeah.
I think we include that in the notes, Cindy.
Yep. We'll do it. Thanks, Mike. Good idea.
Yep, absolutely. Business concluded. I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Rutland County make a motion to adjourn.
Thank you, Kurt.
Michael, second.
Thanks, Mike. Appreciate it.
Have a good night, everybody.
Thank
Good
you.
Thank you all for coming on early and staying for a few minutes.
We need it.
Thanks, guys. Take care.